Picture this. The countdown just finished and you look up at the sky to see the most surreal display of fireworks for New Year's. Add to that Katy Perry's Firework playing in the background and the night turns even more magical. But have you ever wondered how these colorful displays in the sky work or what science goes on behind the scenes? We're here to answer all these questions and more. Let's dig in. First and foremost, here's what gives fireworks their color. There really would be no excitement if fireworks were only gunpowder. They'd all just be fireballs in the air, and that can get quite boring. Fireworks can detonate in bursts of bright blue or rich red thanks to salts and other metal compounds. A lot goes into bringing about simple colors. Fireworks contain strontium salts and/or lithium salts to produce red, with the strontium producing a brighter red reaction. Calcium salts produce orange, whereas sodium salts, such as good old table salt, produce yellow. Green is derived from the compound barium chloride, while blue is derived from copper chloride. Aluminum or magnesium is used to create silver or white colors. Purple requires a little more effort to obtain. To make a purple explosion, combine strontium salts for red and copper chloride for blue. Now let's take a look at the inner mechanics of aerial fireworks. You've most likely seen both sparklers and firecrackers. It turns out that understanding these two pyrotechnic devices will get you a long way toward understanding aerial fireworks. The sparkler shows how to get a bright, sparkling light from a firework, while the firecracker shows how to make an explosion. Firecrackers have been around for hundreds of years, maybe even more. They are made up of either black powder, which, by the way, is also known as gunpowder, or flash powder in a tightly wrapped paper tube with a fuse to light the powder. Charcoal, sulfur, and potassium nitrate are all components of black powder. To brighten the explosion, a firecracker composition may contain aluminum instead of or in addition to charcoal. On the other hand, sparklers are not the same as firecrackers. A sparkler burns for a long time, up to a minute, and produces a shower of bright light. Because of the ball of sparks that surrounds the burning portion of the sparkler, sparklers are often referred to as snowball sparklers. Several different compounds make up a sparkler. These include fuel, oxidizer, binder, and iron or steel powder. When combined, they form a slurry into which the sparkler's body is dipped. This coating is what burns and gives sparklers their bright light. The fuel and oxidizer are mixed in precise portions so that the sparkler does not explode like a traditional firework, but instead burns slowly and safely, we might add. Aluminum, iron, steel, zinc, or magnesium dust is commonly used in fireworks to create bright, shimmering sparks. The metal flakes become incandescent and shine brightly, or at a high enough temperature, they actually burn. Now, an aerial firework, such as that you would see in a firework display, is typically formed as a shell made up of 4 parts. These include a container, which is a cylinder made of pasted paper and string. Stars are spheres, cubes, or cylinders made of a sparkler-like material. Second, there's the bursting charge, which is basically a firecracker-like charge in the shell's center. Then we have the fuse, a time delay that allows the shell to explode at the proper altitude. Lastly, it constitutes a small cylinder containing the lifting charge located just below the shell. A mortar is used to launch the shell. The mortar could be a short steel pipe with a black powder lifting charge that explodes in the pipe to launch the shell. When the lifting charge ignites to launch the shell, it ignites the fuse. The fuse on the shell burns while the shell rises to its proper altitude, then ignites the bursting charge, causing it to explode. Simple shells are made from a paper tube stuffed with stars and black powder. Stars come in all shapes and sizes, but a simple star can be imagined as a sparkler compound formed into a ball the size of a pea or dime. The stars are poured into the tube, which is then filled with black powder. The bursting charge is ignited when the fuse burns into the shell, causing the shell to explode. The explosion ignites the outside of the stars, causing them to burst into flames with bright showers of sparks. Because the explosion scatters the stars, you get the huge sphere of sparkling light that is so common at fireworks displays. All of this to create a simple display, but if we have any say, it's quite worth it. Next, let's talk shapes. It takes a lot of effort to put on the spectacular displays that we see on occasion. It can take hours of planning for a few minutes worth of display, and it takes even longer when a show is set to music. And you'd better get it right, because fireworks don't come cheap. The science behind all these fireworks is just as fascinating as their price. Have you ever wondered how they make so many different shapes during a night of fireworks display? Well, it's quite simple really. The arrangement of star pellets inside the aerial shell determines the pattern that a shell paints in the sky. For example, if the pellets are equally spaced in a circle and black powder is placed inside the circle, an aerial display of smaller star explosions equally spaced in a circle will be visible. Simply put, to make a specific figure in the sky, first create an an outline of the figure in star pellets, then surround them as a group with a layer of break charge to separate them from the rest of the shell's contents, and then place explosive charges inside those pellets to blow them outward into a large figure. Each charge must be ignited at precisely the right time or the entire thing will be ruined. That's not all. More complex shells explode in 2 or 3 stages. This type of shell is known as a multi-break shell. They may contain stars of various colors and compositions to produce softer or brighter light, more or fewer sparks, and so on. Some shells contain explosives that cause the sky to crackle, or whistles that explode outward with the stars. Multi-break shells can be made up of a shell filled with other shells, or they can be made up of multiple sections without the use of additional shells. Different fuses ignite the sections of a multi-break shell. The explosion of one section sets off the next. The shells must be assembled so that each section explodes sequentially to produce a distinct separate effect. Break charges are the explosives used to separate the sections. We have scoured our resources to tell you of some of the most interesting shapes. First, there's the palm, and we're sure you can imagine what that looks like by its name. It contains large comets or solid cylinder-shaped charges that travel outward, explode, and then curve downward like the limbs of a palm tree. Then we have willow, which constitutes stars that fall in the shape of willow branches and may even stay visible until they hit the ground. Their high charcoal composition makes them long-burning. It's fascinating how simple chemicals can make such beautiful displays. Serpentine shells burst to send small tubes of incendiaries skittering outward in random directions, potentially resulting in exploding stars. Lastly, and probably our most favorite on the list, are chrysanthemum shells. They explode into a spherical pattern of stars, leaving a visible trail with an effect that is gently reminiscent of a flower. Now, let's take a look at some super interesting facts we came upon. Here's one that might give you a little laugh. To frighten off mountain men, the Chinese used firecrackers. The Chinese were writing on green bamboo stalks and drying them on coals as early as 200 BC. When left overheated for too long, the wood expanded and even burst with a bang, of course. According to Scientific American, Chinese researchers discovered that the noises effectively scared away unusually large mountain men. As a result, the firecracker was born. According to some accounts, fireworks were also used to frighten away evil spirits. Now we know what to do when the neighborhood kids come to ring our bell. We know the concerns most of you have about how safe fireworks are for the environment, understandably so. Well, you don't need to worry anymore. Chemists are working on more eco-friendly fireworks recipes. Some research groups have already discovered alternatives to barium compounds and potassium perchlorate. A team from the United States Army's Pyrotechnics Technology and Prototyping Division discovered that sodium and potassium periodate are both safe and effective oxidizers by replacing chlorine with iodine. The same group was also successful in replacing barium with boron. The research aims to create more environmentally friendly flares for military use, but it could also be applied to civilian fireworks. Some small-scale displays have used fireworks that use nitrogen-rich compounds instead of perchlorates. But the challenge is making eco-friendly products as affordable alternatives. That's all for today, folks. We hope you found fireworks as fascinating as we did, especially all the chemical geeks out there. Let us know your thoughts, and remember, as beautiful as they look, fireworks are dangerous. Stay safe, and we'll see you all later. Bye!